What's going on, my Lion Ones? It's your boy Mosh the MC, and I'm back. Your boy was a little bit under the weather, so I took a couple of days off, but we're back to posting hopefully daily. But without further ado, let's get right into the news, or let's get right into the discussion for today. Today we're talking about Devil Fruit Awakenings, because possibly coming up will be Awakenings. Let's just go along the trend of Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, and now into Wano. Dressrosa, we faced the big bad. A couple times we got defeated, or not really defeated, but we had breaks in between with Luffy and Law first jumping him. Luffy going gear forward the first time, but not being able to fully take him out. So Dolphy finally showing us an awakening. Granted, that was the first awakening we've seen in the show. Actually, no. Yes, that was the first awakening we've seen in the show. Possibly confirmed awakening. Crocodile may have been awakening too, but we're not really sure. But Dolphy was the first. Then we get Impelled Down. Right? Dressrosa, Impelled Down. No. Impelled Down was the first. Impelled Down was the first awakening that we seen with the Awakened Zone, but I don't think they were actually like, I wouldn't say correct Awakened Zones, but more or less, they weren't like a perfected Awakened Zone because all of them had like personality issues. Like some of them were scared, some of them were just like really dunce with the eyes. Oda made it really apparent with how they drew the eyes for the Awakened Zones. And the Awakened Zones were more or less had increased speed, increased durability, increased recovery. Doflamingo now being a paramecia, not a zone, his awakening affected the ground around him. And the thing is, when people are saying that an awakened devil fruit doesn't put you in the special paramecia form, the reason why I say that's not the case is because the awakening is still the ability that the devil fruit gives the user. Just because it's awakened does not take away the fact that he has that ability regardless. So the devil fruit itself may not be a special paramecia, but it evolved into a special paramecia with the new gained ability. Doflamingo not able to create string, but also be able to change the environment around him into string as well. Katakuri was the next one, his being Mochi, but he has 3 properties. Actually 4 if you think about it. He's able to he's actually physically Mochi, create Mochi, turn things into Mochi, and it has the properties of a Logia. I don't count that because the properties of Logia really come from him using Future Sight and being able to change his body into a into like a hole, so the attack goes right through him like he is a Logia. So with that all being said, Awakened Devil Fruits in Wano is the next thing. So far we had the advancement in Rio, or advancement in Haki and armor in Haki, being that invisible armor coating, and then being able to actually emit it or forcibly push it into an enemy. Then we had Advanced Conquerors, being able to coat your attack in it. So the next advancement is, for us to see, is Awakened Devil Fruit. And I don't mean it in Luffy's perspective. No. I mean the next thing we're going to see is an Awakened Devil Fruit. Because each arc, we had in Dressrosa, we had in Whole Cake, it's going to happen in Wano too. Who's going to awaken that Devil Fruit? Possibly Luffy. I mean, it makes sense that the way the trend's going, it would be Luffy. But, I talked about this in previous videos. What I want to see is perfected zone awakened Devil Fruits. And the candidates are right there. From all the Fine Six to Kaido, Yamato, possibly even King and Queen. I want to see it because I want to see the difference between how the Impelled Down awakened zones were and how the awakened zones of someone who's actually understanding and under control of their own Devil Fruit and actually able to produce and attack and defend how they actually want to and be actually like more not sentient but more aware of what's going on rather than the Impelled Down guards who are just quiet walking around like. So let's talk about Ulti first. The reason why I've been harping, guys, you guys know I'm a big Ulti fan, big Ulti fan. The reason why I'm harping on Ulti is not only because her personality almost matches Luffy, and I rate, Luffy's MC, and everyone's drawn to Luffy. She has the same almost vibe as Luffy, but at the same time, out of all the Toby Robot members, she has taken the most damage out of everyone and has always bounced back, right? And she's strong-willed, she's strong-headed as well. She wants to defeat Big Mom. She wants to defend her brother. Yes, her being taken out by Nami again with Zeus is going to play a factor in why her Devil Fruit not awakens, but she shows an awakening. The shown awakening part is her actually recovering from the damage she took from Nami. And Ulti and Awakening can still set up the perfect match between Usopp and Nami versus Ulti in page 1. And the fact that all these pirate all these Toby Robot members were once pirate captains. At least that's what they're saying. They're all ex-pirate captains. Ulti still has a lot to prove, and I feel like it was too quickly wrapped up that she was defeated. And the fact that the Big Mom pirates are not in the war yet means that there's still a portion of the war to go. And I've been talking about the live floor. When Otama gives her orders, right, the live floor will literally turn into a battle royale, or like literally king and queen being absolutely manhandled. And when I say manhandled, I mean they're literally, it's everyone on the live floor against king, queen, and Apu. Maybe Apu's able to call the numbers in. Maybe the other numbers that are still there wake back up and they recover and they can fight. But for the most part, it is literally just king and queen. All the gifters, pleasurers, waiters on the live floor will now be on the side of the raid. Sanji is now there. Perospero is going to be fighting Neko. Drake is fighting Apu. He's already out of that. And Marco's still fighting King. Yes, I feel like Marco's going to heal Zoro. And that in turn puts Nami, Usopp, Otama, and the others, possibly Kawamatsu and Izo against King. But if that's the case, King and Queen, what they've shown us so far hasn't been enough. And even if Queen goes into a hybrid form to fight, Sanji. Sanji puts on his raid suit. That still is not enough to handle everything that's going on in the live floor. So the only other step above would be the Awakened. So I feel that the Flying Six, having been discredited so much, King and Queen being discredited so much, that they will eventually all not awaken, but all show an awakening. Because right now we haven't seen Sasuke's hybrid form. We haven't seen Who's Who hybrid form. We saw his full beast form. We saw Sasuke's full beast form. We saw Ulti's hybrid form a little bit. We saw Page One's hybrid form a little bit. But we haven't seen the other ones. We haven't seen Black Mirror's hybrid form at all. Maybe what Black Mirror is in right now is her hybrid form, but I'm not sure. So, the way the battles are going, I feel like the Tobi-Roppo have to have an awakening. I feel like it's just poignant, or it's a great point for them to actually have an awakening and actually show why the Flying Six and why they're so heavily toted by Kaido and actually being the Flying Six members and being the All-Stars and the top performers. So, now let's fast forward to Luffy. A discussion that I've been having on my other platforms is that Luffy is going to awaken his Zero Fruit in Wano. I want it to happen, but I don't want it to happen at the same time. It makes sense because the way the battles are all flowed, Awakening has always been a part of the final battle in one way, shape, or form, but it's always been on the opposite side of what Luffy's facing. But one thing about Luffy's Awakening that people have to realize is that Luffy's Awakening won't be a rubber world right off the bat. Because the reason why Luffy is a Paramecia is because only his body is altered. There's three forms of a Paramecia: body alteration, environment alteration, and creation. Luffy can't create rubber. Luffy can't change the things into rubber around him yet. And Luffy is made of rubber, but not really. Actually, he's not really made of rubber, but he has the properties of rubber. And that's why people tend to get it mixed up, is because Luffy's is not like Katakuri. Katakuri is actually mochi. He can literally turn his body into mochi, turn parts of his body into mochi, and like go about fighting in that way. Luffy, on the other hand, has the properties of rubber. He can't make and mold his body like it's physically rubber, but he can use elasticity, and that's how he attacks, basically making a Gundam pistol. He needs the velocity to increase velocity in order to hit people. And when in Jet, it's just going so fast that it looks like he doesn't need to increase that or shoot his arm back to increase velocity. So his awakening won't be changing the environment into physical rubber. It just doesn't make sense unless his awakening ability has two counterparts: him being able to create rubber and then him being able to turn into complete rubber. So his awakening would have to do, for his environment to turn to rubber, his awakening would have to do two things: make him be able to turn into real rubber, a complete rubber, not just the properties of rubber, make him turn into real rubber, and him be able to create rubber. If those two are the cases, then the world, he would be able to create his rubber world, or the bounce house everyone's talking about. But instead of that, his awakening would most likely be more or less on the zone side, being increased speed, and by increased speed, it being increased elasticity in order to decrease velocity, or giving things the properties that he's touching of rubber. So since his body has the properties of rubber, him touching the things and giving that the property of rubber, maybe to increase his speed because he's increasing the elasticity, he's pushing back and bouncing forward faster. That would make more sense for his awakening than him being able to turn things into rubber. So, how would that affect things with Kaido? That would, it would nullify a lot of the damage, because he, instead of like falling into something solid, he's falling into rubber. Increase the bounce back capability, him like drawing back, creating elasticity, creating velocity, and shooting forward so attacks get faster. And also, if he's able to control rubber Sorry, I'm still a little under the weather. He's still able to control rubber. He now is able to do different things with his body. So now imagine a compressed Luffy. Like I remember Gear 3 was him, the drawback was him getting small. Now imagine being able to create that pinball effect of anything you're touching, even intangible, like White Bear able to grab the air. Maybe Luffy's able to do that with the air itself, creating almost properties of rubber everywhere he touches. And he basically becomes like a pinball, armament-sized pinball. And he's bouncing around, increasing velocity, almost like how Snake Man was like rapidly hitting everywhere. Imagine Luffy as his body doing that, as a coated ball of Conqueror's Haki, bouncing around, with turning the things he's touching, the properties of rubber, including the air, and hitting Kaido multiple times over and over again. I think that along the side makes more sense of how he's going to fight. Almost like how Bellamy was able to jump around and use his springs. Luffy eventually took that idea and made springs of his feet, was able to do that same attack, but now increasing it even further, being able to actually turn into rubber. Like actually physically make his body and mold his body into any shape or form he wants into rubber, and then bouncing around hitting Kaido. So I feel like that's almost how it's going to go. And at the same time, he's able to do that, but he has complete control over his rubber. He can increase or expand the size of his body overall. Like remember, he's able to make a giant fist, giant foot, giant feet, giant hands, but it's not his whole body being giant. And you know, with Onigashima giant sword being there, a lot of implications to him being a giant, possibly with Joy Boy's big hat, or not Joy Boy's, but like the big hat on the Marijois, and how it was a big straw hat. Implies that Luffy, in somehow, some way, is going to be a giant. Well, not maybe a giant, but able to turn into a giant or make his body be a giant for X amount of time. And I feel like it's almost the same thing as Gear 3, but higher. So instead of just being able to decrease his size, but also increase it as well. And I think that his awakening makes more sense, having complete control over everything, over all the properties of rubber, while also being rubber himself. So let's digest. What would happen if the Tobiropo all had awakened zone type Devil Fruits? So the increased recovery is going to play the biggest factor. Because the fact that if Kaido's Devil Fruit is awakened, not only is he a war machine already in strength, speed, power, destructive capability, all that, but now even the damage he's taking, he's recovering from it. And it sort of implies that because even though he was taking so much damage from Luffy, Kid, Law, Killer, Zoro, he's still able to bounce back and fight regardless. Maybe it's not a lot of damage, maybe it's not doing too much damage, but the fact that he's able to recover and keep fighting is going to play a big factor. And that's why I feel like it's going to actually take a numerous amount of people to actually put down Kaido for good, not just Luffy and Yamato. I feel like there needs to be more. And the Straw Hats need proper battles. Because right now, what happened with Nami and Ulti fell a little flat. It felt like the climax hit too hard, too easy. So what I see happening is all the Tobiropo members actually falling, but we've seen the awakened side of all their zone types and them actually coming back after being knocked down the first time. We think all the Tobiropo members are defeated. They all awakened. And what I want for awakening is another form. I don't want it to just look like the same form, a little bigger. I want like them to awaken their Devil Fruit to have some significant appearance difference, so we know, okay, this is the awakening. This is something we're looking forward to. And I feel like that actually plays part into how the battles all go. Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, and now Wano. So in Wano, a Devil Fruit will be awakened, and we'll see awakenings. Which one? Who's awakening? We're not really sure, but I'm really, really pushing for an awakened zone type, especially with the whole indication with Chopper going to Monster Port for 30 minutes. I feel like it would just be perfect that we see like what Chopper needs to get to, a true awakening. Like I know Monster Point is like possibly his awakening, but a true awakening could be very different. I think a true awakening won't be Monster Point. It will be Chopper in a more like humanoid form, because the human fruit nonetheless. So it'd be Chopper in a more humanoid form, actually being able to probably go through all his or combine different points like Monster Point, Horn Point, Jump Point, and maybe combine all of them into like one being. And it's like, okay, this is a true awakening. Because I feel like right now we still have not seen a perfected zone awakened form yet. Not once. We haven't seen Kaido yet, because we don't know if he's awakened or not, but we haven't seen the form yet. Impel Down was not really awakened, and I feel like Tobiropo members, King and Queen, have that opportunity to actually show us what a true awakening can be. So I'm very excited for it. But That's all I really had today, man. I'm so really sick, so it's really hard for me to talk right now. But it was a quick discussion about Awakening Devil Fruits and how it's going to play a factor in Wano. I feel like that's going to end up being the end-all be-all of what Luffy and probably is going to end up doing. But I actually don't want him to awaken his Devil Fruit just yet. I feel like it would be a nice surprise if he does it later on. But if he does, that's what I'm talking about. That's what eventually being. But one way I see Luffy possibly being Kaido is actually learning how to flow his Haki proportional to what he needs. Not just like forcing it and overstressing it completely into his body, into Gear 4th. Maybe a better control and better understanding of Haki and being able to use Gear 4th in at your will. Being able to go Snake Man, Bound Man, Tank Man, possibly Tiger Man, or any other form of Gear 4 in and out. Just being able to transfer between all of them because their flow of Haki is actually your flow of Haki is under your control. You can do whatever you want with it. But like I said, guys, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about Awakening, possibly Luffy's Awakening, possibly the end of not end of Wano, but the last fight with Kaido, how Luffy's going to defeat him, or possibly a new form that Luffy's going to use, or what he's going to do later on when he fights Kaido again. But like I said at the end of every single video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the bell button to come back next time and continue your enlightenment, y'all. Peace.